How to play Texas Hold'em poker. Hello and welcome. It is I, Mike V. Today's video is going to be a beginner's guide on No Limit Texas Hold'em. We're going to go over the basics of the game in as much detail as possible. Without further ado, let's get started. If you are brand new to poker in general and you do not know the hand rankings, I will have a video linked right above that you can go ahead and watch first before you watch this one. I'll be waiting. Once you're done, you can come back straight back here. Assuming you know the hand rankings already, let's continue. So, how to play Texas Hold'em. So, no limit Texas Hold'em is the most popular form of poker by far. And when people discuss poker or talk about poker, it's almost always going to be specifically no limit Texas Hold'em. Now let's get some vocabulary out of it. So no limit. What does it mean by no limit? Well, that means there's no maximum bet other than the amount of chips in front of you. So you can bet as many chips during your turn up to whatever you have in front of you, generally speaking. You have two hole cards, cards that are dealt to you and only you. There are up to 5 community cards, cards dealt face up that are shared by all players. 2 to 10 players seated at the same table can play. And if there are more players, then you divide it up to multiple tables. And you can play either as a cash game or as a tournament. Cash game is where the chips have a dollar value. You buy in for $200, get $200 in chips. You play until you want to leave, and if you have chips remaining, you go to the cashier, exchange those chips back for cash. Tournaments, you buy in one time or multiple times if re-entry is allowed, and you get a set number of chips. The chips have no cash value, and you play until you lose all your chips or you win the tournament. So that's tournament poker. The rules, the general rules that I'm going to show you here is the same regardless if you're playing a cash game or a tournament. All right, so let's take a look at the typical hand of Texas Hold'em. All right, so the deal. The 2 players to the left of the dealer button must make forced bets before the cards are dealt. So for the rest of the video, I'm going to refer to the dealer as the button. There is a dealer button. I'll probably show a picture on screen here. Which indicates who would typically be dealing the cards if you were dealing this from a home setting. If you're playing at home with friends and family, then this person actually deals the cards. But if you're playing in a casino setting, one player will always have this little white circular disc in front of them that indicates who would be the dealer if that player were to deal the cards themselves. But in a casino setting, there's a dedicated dealer that's hired by the casino to deal the cards for you. So I'll be referring to the button for throughout this tutorial. So the 2 players to the left of the dealer button must make forced bets before the cards are dealt. So the first player to the left of the button posts the small blind, usually half of the minimum bet. Not always, but it's usually half. The next player to the left posts the big blind, which is equal to the minimum bet. So a typical example, a game of $1, $2 no limit hold'em has a small blind of $1 and a big blind of $2. The minimum bet for this game is therefore $2. This is a common low stakes game that you will find in many card rooms and casinos across the United States and around the world. After blinds are posted, the dealer deals 2 cards, one at a time, clockwise to each player, starting with the player on the small blind and ending with the player on the button. Let's go ahead and go to the next part. So we got the pre-flop betting round. All right, so after the deal, the player to the left of the big blind takes his or her first turn, and play will proceed clockwise from there. So on your turn, each player will have 3 different options. So you've got the ability to call, which is to match the amount of the big blind or the last amount that was raised to. So if you say you want to call, you want to continue on with the hand. and you must bet the amount needed. So it's either the amount. In this case, it's either the amount of the big blind. In this case, $2. Especially if you're the first person, the first player to take their turn, or if somebody raised in front of you, it's the amount of that raise. So the other option is for yourself to raise, which is to make a bet that is at least double the previous raise. So if nobody is raised, or in this case it's just the big blind, and it's $2 to call, and you want to raise, you must make it at least $4. Or let's say someone raised before you. Let's say they raised it to $6, and now it's your turn, and you want to raise the bet as well. Uh, you'll have to raise it to at least $10. You have to put at least $10 down. It's because the person who made it $6 raised $4 more. So you have to raise at least another $4 more if you want to raise. So if you want to raise, you have to make it at least $10 in this example. And you can do more than that, but you cannot raise to less than that. You cannot make it $9 or $8. It'll have to be $10 in that example. The other option is to fold, which is to forfeit your hand as well as your chances of winning the pot. So you basically toss your cards gently towards the dealer, and then you're done for the hand, and you'll have to wait until the next hand is dealt for you to get back into the action. So if a player raises, each player in turn will have a chance to call that raise or make a raise of their own, which is also called a re-raise or a 3-bet or a 4-bet, etc. So a person who raises another person's raise it's called a re-raise, or the 3rd bet or a 3-bet, and if somebody raises that, it's a 4-bet, and so on. So you may hear that in televised poker commentary. You may hear the terms 3-bet and 4-bet. So it's just another term for a re-raise, raising after someone else has raised. The betting round ends when all players had a chance to either fold or call the last bet or raise. If nobody made a raise by the time the player in the big blind gets their turn, then they have the option to pass their turn, known as checking. We'll get to that in the next section, which ends the betting round. And the player in the big blind can choose to raise as well, so they have that option too once it's their turn. But all right, so let's assume we got to the end of the first betting round. And now we head towards the flop. The dealer deals 3 cards face up on the center of the table, so this is known as the flop. Now, in a live setting, the dealer will deal a burn card. Basically, put the card face down before dealing each the flop, the turn, and the river. So there will be up to 3 burn cards. When playing online, you won't see any burn cards, so you'll just see 3 cards appear. So that is the flop. Then action starts with the player to the left of the button that has not folded in the previous betting round. So that's when the betting round starts, is with the person to the left of the player who has the dealer button in front of them. So this player will have 2 options. They can check, which means passes his or her turn, or basically like a bet of 0. Like I bet nothing. Over to you, You'll see people tapping the table to indicate that they want to check. That's pretty standard. So that just means, I don't want to bet. Okay. And then the other option is to make a bet. And the amount you're allowed to bet is at least the minimum amount for that table, so the amount of the big blind. So in a 1-2 table, that means $2 is the minimum to bet if you want to make a bet. The maximum, of course, being your entire stack that you have in front of you. If a player does bet by the time his or her turn comes, then they will have the same 3 options as in the previous betting round: call, raise, or fold. So that means, let's say you've got 3 people to act in front of you before it's your turn. The first 2 players check, the third and then the person directly to your right makes a bet. Well, now you cannot check. You now have to either call that bet, or you can raise it, or you if you don't want to do either of those, then you have to give up your hand and toss your cards. In which you, in this case, you are folding. The round ends as before with when all players fold or call the last bet or raise. And then the dealer will then deal the fourth community card face up, which is called the turn card. Betting round begins in the same way as on the flop, with the person to the dealer button's left that has not yet folded. So the first active player to the left of the button. And that betting round happens, and then if there are still at least two players in the hand by the time that betting round's over, the dealer will deal the fifth and final community card face up, which is known as the river card. We have one final round of betting in the same way as mentioned previously. Check or bet. If someone bets, you either call, raise, or fold. So now let's get to the showdown. So if at least two players are still remaining in the hand after the final betting round, then it's time to flip up your hole cards. So it's time for the showdown. So that means players will need to make their best poker hand using any five of the seven cards available to them. You know, their two hole cards and the five community cards. So you can make it. You can use two of your hole cards and three of the five community cards. You can use just one uh, of your hole cards and four of the five community cards to make up your 5 card hand, or or you could even use none of your hole cards and use all 5 of the community cards. The player with the highest poker hand at showdown will win the chips in the pot. The pot being all the chips that are in the center. Once a pot is won, the button moves to the left, cards are shuffled, blinds are posted, and a new hand is dealt. So that's pretty simple on how a Texas Hold'em poker game works. A couple of important notes, though, that I put down here, so let me read these out. In any betting round, if all remaining players fold to the last bet or raise, then the player who made that bet or raise wins the hand immediately and is awarded the chips in the pot without having to show his or her hole cards. This is why you hear all the time about bluffing. So this makes bluffing an important skill in the game. So if you're able to make a bet and nobody wants to call that bet, nobody wants to match it, and they fold their cards, give up, then you just win the pot right away. And this can happen at any betting round of the hand. It can happen pre-flop. It can happen on the flop, after the turn, or after the river card just before showdown. It could happen at any time. If all but one player is left in the hand, that player just takes whatever chips are in the pot immediately, and they don't have to show their cards at all. Also, another important thing: if a player is facing a bet or raise that is bigger than their remaining chips, then they can still participate in the hand with their remaining chips. This player is therefore has gone all in. And once a player is all in, they cannot partake in any further betting. The silver lining, though, for the player that's all in is that they are guaranteed to reach showdown. Uh, a, Also, a player can raise all in too. It's not necessarily that they're facing a bet or a raise that's more than their chip stack and they're calling all in. They can also choose to raise all in. That's raising the maximum. Basically, the maximum bet you can raise in a no limit hold'em game is all of your chips, and therefore that is known as raising all in or going all in. A couple of more important notes is that if there is at least one player all in and at least two players not all in that are still in the hand, further betting that takes place, any further betting that takes place, let's say there's still one or two more betting rounds to go, they'll take place in the side pot. So side pots, how they work is that a player that is all in cannot participate in any further betting, but they still can win a pot at showdown. However, However, the player cannot win more than whatever chips they have invested per player that's also still in the hand. Which is why you hear the terms of oh, this person's all in and he won, he doubled up or he tripled up. Uh, yeah, so that basically means that yeah, if they're all in and there's still further betting, that person all in cannot win any of that money in that side pot. He's only there for the main pot. So what happens then, therefore, is that the players that continue, that are still participating and making bets into the side pot, if they reach showdown, for example, those players will show their cards, and then the highest hand amongst them will win the money in the side pot. Once it's been determined who won the side pot, then the player who's all in shows their cards for the main pot, and if their cards happen to be the best amongst all the other players that are still in at the showdown, then that player will win the main pot. And if not, then the person who won the side pot will also win the main pot in that example. If the person all in does not have the best hand, as usual. And finally, if all players still in the hand happen to be all in, or another example would be all players but one is that are still in the hand are happen to be all in, then betting stops and any community cards remaining to be dealt are then dealt, with the hand going straight to showdown and therefore settled. Which is why when you watch tournament poker, for example, you'll see, if one a simple example, if one player is all in and another opponent calls that all in, and everyone else folds, there's only two players, one of them is all in, then that means no further betting takes place because there's no one else to bet against. So you'll see the players show their cards right away before the remaining community cards that need to be dealt are in fact dealt. All right, so that basically is, in as best detail as I can, show you the mechanics of a hand of Texas Hold'em. Now, we're gonna go straight to an online table. I'm gonna go ahead and sit down at one and basically share with you exactly what we discussed here and give you a visual look at the game of Texas Hold'em, so you guys can see what I mean. Especially if you're reading what's in front of you right now, and you see that, wait, maybe I still don't get it. Well, a visual representation here, an actual look of a game of poker in progress, will probably help you understand what's going on. And I'll be commentating on what I shared with you as the game is being played. So let's go ahead and switch to a Texas Hold'em table, an online poker table. We'll switch to one right now. All right, I've gone ahead and sit down at a PokerStars Play Money table. I'm going to go ahead and commentate what's going on in each betting round. All right, so here are the small blind and big blind right here to the left of the dealer button, which is right here. So this person went first. Everybody takes their turn in clockwise motion. Here is a raise by this guy on the button to 16. So everyone is going to now have a turn to call that raise or raise it even further. And so far there have been 4 callers. I'll be folding this one. Once the betting is settled, chips go into the pot, and we see the flop. First three community cards. So then this person goes first. Active player to the left of the button goes first, and he has the option to check or bet. So these two guys check. This guy bets, and then this guy has the option to call or raise or fold. And here's an all-in situation, as mentioned previously. So when someone's all in and a person calls out all in, all betting stops, and we get to the river and to the showdown in that case. All right, so for this hand, blinds are so in this game blinds are 100 and 200. So this is the small and big blind right here. The button is moved one space to the left. So this player raises, and these two players call. Betting rounds over, we get to see the flop. This person goes first. First active player left of the button, so it goes check, check. This person bets. So this person decides to call. This person decides to fold. So we get to the turn. It goes check and check, so no bets. So we move immediately to the river. Now he's going to bet. He's going to raise, and it's going to be for all of it. Oh yeah, that's another thing too that I haven't mentioned in the video so far. If two people have the exact same hand, then the pot is split between evenly between the two. So in this case, we saw a split pot or a chop pot. So these two players now post the blinds. So first act starts here, then me, then clockwise. So far, everybody is that's playing is calling. This guy raises, so now everybody has a chance to call the raise. Everybody gets a turn to decide if they want to call the raise, put more, or to fold. Once that's settled, we see the flop, a bet, and a call. We see the turn card. There's only two players in the hand. We see another bet and a call. We head over to the river. Another bet and a call, so we make it to showdown. And this player with two aces has the best hand and wins the chips in the middle. And notice the player who lost decided not to show their cards, and instead muck them, which is the same as folding them. If you know you don't have the best hand at showdown, you don't have to show your cards. It's also the same in the live setting. Though if you're not sure that you have the best hand, it's always best to show it anyway, especially when you're starting off. All right, so the button's here, and these two players posted the blinds. So I was the first person to play, so I folded. It was called around to this person who raises. And so 3 players called that raise, so 4 players get to see the flop. So this person plays first after the flop, since they're left the active player closest to the dealer button on the left side. So it goes check, this person checks, this person checks, and this person's going to bet. So now it goes back to this player to decide if they want to call that bet. And 2 players do, so we are 3 players with the turn card. So it's the same thing here. Get to see the river. It goes check, check. And he's going to make one final bet. This person just, okay, they both decided to fold. So here's an example of a hand where nobody calls the last bet or raise, the last bet or the last raise, and therefore the person making the bet takes the pot automatically. We don't go to showdown. They don't have to show their cards. We'll go ahead and take a look at one more hand. And in this case, I'm in the big blind with, so I'm forced to put in 200. This person here is forced to put 100, and this person's on the button. So it's first person to act pre-flop is this person. Goes fold, call, fold, call, fold, call, and call. Here, on the big blind, I have option. I can check or I can raise, so I can see a free flop in this case, because nobody raised before it got to me in the big blind. All right, so nobody's bet before me, so I can either choose to check and not bet or make a bet. This person decides to make a bet, so it's going to come back to me with a choice of calling the 400 folding and giving up a chance to win the pot, or raising the bet. And one thing you'll notice is it says on the button raise to 800, which means that that's the minimum raise amount. It has to be at least double the previous raise, as mentioned earlier in the video. Hopefully this visual representation here helps you understand the mechanics of a poker hand. This is a really interesting one too. 4 sevens, wow. Against a full house. So yeah, so this video is basically a beginner's guide. And I hope you got to learn something from this if this is your first time learning about No Limit Texas Hold'em. In future, actually, the next video that I'm going to be making is going to be more strategy orientated. But until then, I do have an older beginner's guide to Texas Hold'em that I'm going to link right now. You can go ahead and check that out. It has 8 strategy tips as well as the information that I provided you in this video as well. You know, how a hand works and everything, as well as some strategy tips. And I'll go over in the next video some additional strategy as well. I'll do it while playing a real money table as well. We'll go ahead and show off how a real money game works too. But other than that, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, you learned something, and you'd like to see more of it, be sure to hit that like button. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, share the video with others, get people interested in the game of Texas Hold'em, and hit the bell icon to be notified when I release my next video. So the next one's going to be about strategy, and I'm actually going to play some poker and show you my thought process. So until then, I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everyone, and go make it happen.